Hey everybody, and welcome to my 8th how-to video of 2022. I'm so excited because you voted for this video when I put up a poll on my YouTube channel and said, which video would you like me to do next? How to do a risk-based approach or how to create a great compliance report. And you guys voted for how to create a great compliance report. And that is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. But before I jump into that, I just want to say welcome to all the new subscribers. I'm so glad you're here. I'm excited to engage with you all, new and old, on this platform. So please be sure to comment, ask me questions. I'm happy to answer them as best as I can. And of course, share the video with your friends. They deserve to know about us too. So without further ado, let me jump straight into the video that I've prepared for you, and that is how to create a great compliance report. Now, compliance reporting is an essential part of the compliance function because as much as we do certain activities to maintain and advise the business about compliance and to make sure that we're picking up any things that might be a challenge to the compliance, health, and status of the organization, nothing really happens if we don't report on it and let people know exactly what's going on. So the report is a great way, an excellent way to communicate to your different stakeholders what's going on, what they need to know about from the compliance world, and what they need to take ownership of. Because remember, the compliance risk is a risk that is owned by the business and not the compliance function. We just advise them and help them to understand their risks and to implement a strong control environment, but they're the ones who actually do the work of implementing and managing that risk. So to allow them to do that in a great way, we need to be able to inform them of what our findings are, what our assessment is of the compliance risk, so that they can do something about it. Okay. So the first thing that you are going to look at when you are looking at putting together a compliance report, a great one, mind you, is who is the audience. We don't do one size fits all. I'm just going to do the same reporting for Bob, Jane, Sally, internal, external. We have to look at the audience that we are talking to and decide, what is fit for purpose, what is the level of detail or not too, high level, low level that they require, and just make sure that we are communicating correctly to the right audience. And as well, what is the message that we are trying to deliver here, and make sure that we're communicating that as succinctly but thoroughly as possible. So once you've identified your audience and what it is you're trying to communicate, my best advice is to figure out how you can communicate that in the form of KPIs and KRIs. The greatest thing about KPIs, which are your key performance indicators, and KRIs, which are your key risk indicators, is that you can track them on an ongoing basis. And you will be able to then provide great insights and analysis in terms of how things are progressing over time. So when you're looking at your KPIs and your KRIs, ask yourself the question, what is it that I want to monitor on an ongoing basis and be able to report to the business on an ongoing basis so that it gives me a good indication of whether things are going well or not going well? And for different compliance functions in different businesses, different KPIs and KRIs may be more important than others. Some might include some things that you don't include, and some might exclude some things that you don't exclude. Whatever the case is, figure out what works and what is important to highlight and monitor for your business. So some examples of KPIs and KRIs for you. I'll start with your compliance tests. I think every business, every compliance function should include this. Some may not, I don't know, but I think it should be included for everybody. So you have created your annual testing plan. I think I need a sandwich, but anyway, you have developed your annual testing plan out of the output from your risk assessment process. You can watch a lot of my other videos to kind of get up to speed with what that whole process entails. But now that you've created your annual testing plan, you have to execute on that plan. And as you execute on that plan, you can include in your metrics reporting around the status of that execution. So if you have identified in your testing plan 20 tests that you are going to be completing within the year on a quarter by quarter, month on month basis, whatever is suitable for your business, you will be reporting that we have completed 50% of the tests on plan, and this we are on track to complete them by the end of the year. Or if that is not the case, we have only completed 20% of the tests. These are the tests that are running overdue, and they're overdue by this amount of time. And these are the challenges that we are facing as a compliance function in terms of implementing those tests. So whatever the case is, your compliance testing outputs can form part of your KPIs and KRIs for your business reporting. Another thing you can look at is your compliance training. How much training has been rolled out? Which courses have been rolled out? What is the status of completion? Is it 60% complete, 100% complete? You know, whatever the case may be. And if there's training that's overdue, are we saying that it's 30 days overdue, 60% overdue, 90 days, 180 days, which is absolutely terrible? But, you know, what is the actual status? Are just a few people straggling, or are we actually facing a problem with people complying with their compliance training obligations? Something else you can look at, regulatory inspections or investigation or audits that are taking place. You know, are we expecting regulators in this quarter? Have we had regulators in the previous reporting period? What is the output of the report? If we've received a report, what are the key findings? Those are, again, metrics that you can include in your report. Investigations underway, investigations or audits, regulatory audits expected to be taking place, you know, positive findings, negative findings, severe findings, however you want to classify it in your business, then you can, you know, include those as metrics in your compliance report to the business. One more example I'll give you, data breaches is something that you can look at. Actually, I'll give you another example. Data breaches, how many data breaches have we had in this reporting period? You know, have we had none? Excellent, fantastic. Have there been data breaches? You know, is that something that, you know, with a major data breaches, 5 customers, 5 million customers, what was the, you know, detail behind that? And then the last example that I want to give you is around customer complaints, because I think customer complaints are super important. How many complaints have we received in the reporting period? Have we received a number of reports? So we received 10,000 customer complaints. What is the distribution in terms of root cause? 50% were about, you know, the banking app not working. 30% were about service within the branch. And the remaining 20% were about, you know, being overcharged or double charged on their banking statements, something to that effect, or not receiving their banking statements. So you're going to be able to position that and, you know, put that into your reporting as something that you are tracking. And why I say it's important for you to be able to track these over time is because you can then see the trend over time. And that is something meaningful that you can talk to in your report. So instead of every month just saying, we received 10 complaints. Next month, we received 5 complaints. Next month, we received 15 complaints. If you are tracking those over time and including that tracking and analysis in your report, you're able to say, we have seen an upward trend or a downward trend in customer complaints, and the root cause of this is most of them are coming from, you know, the banking app being an issue. The business is then able to look at your report and see that they need to pay closer attention to their banking app. Something is wrong, because you have been able to provide them with that intel based on your, you know, over time tracking of certain metrics and customer complaints, which is the example that I'm giving you. So where you can, make sure that in your report you are able to include, you know, either a month on month, a year on year, quarter on quarter kind of comparison, so that the business can have a sense of if things are getting worse or better based on the data that you've provided in your report. So now that you have all these metrics that you've designed, how should it actually look and read for the reader? And in this report, I am positioning it that you are reporting to your executive committee, right? So you are talking to people who don't necessarily have time or maybe the inclination to read a 90-page compliance report every single reporting period. So you need to do it, and I highly recommend that you use a dashboard style. So a couple of pages on your PowerPoint presentation where you've got graphics, graphs, bullet points, where you are highlighting and illustrating those metrics that you've indicated. So compliance training, 50% complete, 30% is overdue by 60 days, 10% is overdue by 90 days, and so forth. And then you're going to have another graphic that is showing you regulatory inspections, none expected in this period, findings from the regulatory inspection in the previous period, again, severe findings, 2, moderate findings, 3, minor findings, 1, and then you can do the bullet points with respect to what each of those 5 things, 6 things that you've indicated as severe, moderate, or minor findings in the audit in bullet points in there. So it's really about creating a dashboard, and someone can see like a snapshot kind of image of these are the issues. You can even use red, green, amber to kind of put color in there to show someone at a view that, okay, the overall compliance health based on all of these metrics that you have rated is in red, which is obviously a very bad place to be, or it's in amber, or it's in green, things are going great, and no major issues in the compliance space. So again, dashboard style, keep it succinct. This is not where you decide you are going to write a 90-page essay about the complaints issue. You can have that data in your mind to talk to when you're presenting the report, or if it's a report where you're not in the room necessarily, you're submitting it somewhere and they're going to read through, maybe make available a document for further detail if they require it. But at the essence, your deck is your 4 or 5 pager that you are going to include, which is highlights. And of course, one thing that's really important to also make sure you have in there is your executive summary. I like to describe an executive summary in similar terms as your elevator pitch. So you get a chance to pitch yourself, give your best sell about who you are in an elevator with a senior leader that you are looking for opportunities from. And in an elevator, you've got 30 to 45 seconds to communicate that message to them and make yourself memorable. So an executive summary is exactly the same sort of idea. It's your 1-pager at the beginning of the report where you are going to state what are the key things that if this individual, if this stakeholder, if Exco only looks at the front page, I want to make sure they have everything they need to know in terms of the important key items. And your executive summary is not just about this is where I'm going to put all the bad stuff. It's also an opportunity for you to highlight what is going well. If a regulatory inspection was completed and audit, they were happy, controls are strong, excellent, put that as a finding in there. If the compliance team has worked with the project management team and successfully implemented a regulatory change within the prescribed timeline by the effective date of the law or regulation, put that in there. But as well, if something is not great, so if a regulatory audit, for example, has highlighted that we have major deficiencies in our AML controls or suspicious transaction reporting procedures, you will put that in your executive summary to make sure that this is something that they are aware of and focused on. And that should trigger them to then look at the detail. Another thing that you can include in your report is action items that were agreed by the business from previous reporting cycles. So for example, if you identified an issue that was, let's use the AML example. The regulatory audit came and identified some issues. The business agreed on actions to remediate those issues. This is where you can also report on the status of that remediation to the business, that actually we are on track, things are looking well, improvements are being made, and if the regulator comes again tomorrow, we're in a good position. Or actually, nothing is happening. We agreed on action plans, but nobody is doing anything. And if the regulator comes tomorrow, we're going to be slapped with a massive fine or sanction, whatever the status might be, something in between. So this is also a place for you in this report to highlight that. But remember, be succinct, bullet points, graphics, dashboard style, an executive summary, and a little bit of narration where some more detail might be required. But at the end of the day, you are going to talk to and present and answer any further questions on, and you do have the supporting documents in your desk, in your laptop, whatever the case may be. So if it is required, you are able to provide it, but it's not about including every single report, piece of paper, training certificate, whatever the case may be, to support that. It's about how do you translate and communicate all the work that you've done, all the findings that you've made into a report. Now, the last thing that I want to highlight is a very key point. And this is about you providing analysis and insights. It's not just about saying, we had 16 customer complaints this month, and then we had 17 customer complaints last night, and then we had 37,000 customer complaints the following month, and leaving it at that. You really have to show some analysis and say, okay, what is going on? What was the trigger behind the sudden increase in complaints? Was it an issue with our technology? Was the issue fixed? Has preventative measures been put in place to stop that from happening again? If it's compliance training and we're saying, actually, we're seeing a trend where completion of compliance training is just not happening, it means that there's a cultural issue where people are not prioritizing compliance training. What do we need to do between the leadership in the organization and compliance to make sure that people are completing their training? So you really need to also have the ability to look at the data that you want to include in your report, position that data in a way that it can be consumed easily and understood easily, but also provide insights so that if actions need to be taken, if something needs to be fixed, the business can take action and fix what needs to be fixed, and be aware that this is their responsibility to do just that. I hope you have enjoyed this compliance how-to video on creating a great compliance report. I think it's something that you will find valuable as you are reporting and doing more reporting, and really making sure that the information is easily digestible, but powerful and impactful. If you want to learn more about this and also get a template from me, which is something that I provide, then sign up for the compliance practices workshop. And in this workshop, I take you through the process of coming up with a report for a testing plan, and also just generally speaking to compliance reporting. And you will get line of sight into what does this dashboard actually look like? What should I include in it, and how can I position it? So that's something that I do include in my compliance practices workshop. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. Please like it. Please share with your fellow compliance professionals who you think will benefit from this video. And I look forward to providing you with more great how-to and other videos in the near future. But until then, bye.